All right, we are back. 2024, here we are. We made it to the new year. Let me start off by saying Happy New Year. I hope you all enjoyed your holidays. We are in the season where resolutions and things like that are going on. So, now I hope we all are doing things to better ourselves as we continue, as we go into this new year. So, I want to just welcome you once again to the show that I like to call those sports, family, life. That's what we love to talk about. The SFL show. Still trying to figure that out how I want to do that. And, we had some statements made this weekend. That is the best way I could put this. We have a college football championship. We'll talk a little bit about that. And we had some really good NFL games. Some weren't as good as you can see, but statements were still made. And then we'll go ahead and we'll end with some expectations as to what we expect to see as we close out um, this college football season and head into the playoffs. So let's go ahead. Let's start with our Thursday night game. We had the Dallas Cowboys go against the Detroit Lions. Great game, no, very entertaining game. But it's sad when there's controversy there. No one likes the game that ends in controversy because sometimes it can take the victory away from the team, even though they deserve the win. No, I think the Cowboys deserve to win that game. That one play, it kind of takes over the whole conversation, and we're not able to really talk about the game the way it needs to be talked about because we're focused on that one aspect. So, Cowboys played a great game. They're playing at home. They did some great things. Dak has been playing at an MVP level. He's been doing really good this year. Not turning the ball over like he did last year, things like that. And the Lions, they're scrappy. The Lions are a very scrappy team, and they played that game the way that they normally play it. They played it tough. They tried to do everything that they can to neutralize the weapons of the Cowboys, and they gave themselves an opportunity to win that game at the end. And a call, no, or a perspective, if you would say, an opinion is what took that 2 point conversion off the board. Someone saying, "Oh, well, I didn't quite hear it right." No, and you hear the conversation going back and forth, and I'm sure throughout the week we're going to hear who's right. The ref's right, the player was right. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different things that come up. But what ended up happening is, of course, as linemen, because of the numbers that they are, when when they are going in as a receiver, they have to report. And I can imagine that when you are reporting as a receiver, you want to do it in a way where it doesn't look so obvious. So you see where the Detroit Lions have three linemen and they're talking to the ref, and I'm sure they're probably telling him about the reporting aspect of things. And somehow, some way, the ref gets it confused. They run a play, they execute the play, and boom, flag gets thrown because he says illegal touching, no, whatever the case may be. And now there's this dispute with no the coach and no the refs, and they're saying we did, and it just takes over the conversation. They have a couple more opportunities to get the 2 point conversion. Of course, they don't work. Dallas end up winning the game. Tough, hard fought game, but the conversation becomes more about the call that was made. Now, I'll say this: I'm not a referee. Um, and I can't imagine all the things that are going on throughout the game. I mean, I can imagine, So I don't know who's right and who's wrong in these situations. I'm not going to try to make it seem like I'm no expert. I don't know. I don't know how that goes. It looked like the offensive lineman reported. It did to me, but I'm looking at it on TV. No, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that's not a solid take. I mean, I don't know how you handle that situation. I don't even know if you were to complain about that, what the complaint would be. Would it be, oh, well, the ref didn't hear us? Well, sometimes my kids tell me something and I don't hear them right. Sometimes when they're talking, one says one thing, and I think the other one said it, and I get it wrong. So I don't know what the answer is to that. So maybe it is somewhat of on the player's responsibility to make sure that. I mean, I don't know. I don't even want to say that because, like I said, you can't be obvious with those type of things. So it's a very interesting case. It's a very interesting um, way to end the game, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the NFL does about that because that's a big loss for Detroit. I mean, they could have potentially been the number 2 seed. And that means that they get 2 home games, and now they drop down, to maybe, four, 3 or 4, whatever the case may be, and that really changes things. And of course, puts the Cowboys, in a situation where they can be that number 2 seeds because I don't know what's going on with the Eagles right now. To be honest, I know 49ers. Yes, they got the doors blown off. No, with the Ravens, but with the Eagle, I can't tell you what's going on with them. So it puts the Cowboys right there in a circumstance in a situation where they could be that number 2 seed, and the only game they have to play on the road is NFC Championship. So big win for the Cowboys, heartbreaking loss for the Lions. Hopefully, no, it does not deter their season. Hopefully, they bounce back from this. They play a tough game. I think they go up against Minnesota the last week. They can get that win, and maybe there's still an opportunity for them to get that 2 seed, depending on how those last games go with the Cowboys as well as the Eagles. So, to talk about the Eagles. No, let's talk about the Eagles. I don't know what's going on with the Eagles. I said earlier when I first started doing this show. No, one of the things that I talked about was the Eagles and how they were winning every game closely. You see their point differential was not a lot. I mean, every game that they played, whether it was the Cowboys or whether it was the Cardinals or the Jets or Washington, all of these games were close. No, one possession games. Every game, it didn't matter the competition. Every game was close. And I was like, man, this team just does not look the same. They're not dominant up front, no, on the offense or the defensive side. And it's funny saying it not on the offensive side because they are able to do the tush push. They're able to get that 1 or 2 yards whenever they need to. But their running game is not like it was last year. Their pass rush is not what it was last year. And they just don't look the same. And now those close games that they were winning, they're losing. No, they're losing, and they're losing to teams that they probably should not be losing to. No, so the Eagles are going to have to either make some changes. Maybe they're gonna have to do something like what Buffalo did. Where we're changing some stuff around. I know they did that on the defensive side, where they have Matt Patricia being the play caller now. I don't know if that's better. Now I know he's under the Belichick tree, but he was a failure in Detroit, so I don't know how that works. No, I don't know why that decision was made, but no, we'll see. But I think if the Eagles continue to play the way that they're playing, they're going to be a first round exit. They're not going to get through the first round. Matter of fact, I'll even say this: if the Eagles don't if they continue to play this way, they will not win that division. They won't win it. And the Cowboys will win it, and the Cowboys will be the 2 seed, which means that everyone except for the 49ers will have to go to Dallas. So that's going to be something to really keep our eyes on. I know the Eagles, they finish up with the Giants, and then I think the Cowboys have Washington, the Commanders. So no, it's going to be interesting to see how that division played off. I hope I didn't call Washington that R word. If I did, I sincerely apologize for that. I have to go back and edit that. But it's going to be interesting to see how that division plays out because I think the Cowboys can win it, and if they win it, that makes them a scarier team. So that makes them a scarier team. So we'll keep our eyes on that as well. 49ers still, no, I think they are the cream of the NFC. I think that they will be obviously the 1 seed. You'll probably see them rest everyone in the upcoming week get themselves healthy. I think Christian McCaffrey got a little banged up in the last game. So you'll probably see them rest up and get ready for the playoffs. And no, I still feel that that's who you have to go through if you want to win the NFC. I think it's going to be the 49ers representing that conference. I think Detroit may have a puncher's chance. Dallas may have a puncher's chance, but other than that, with the way Philly is playing right now, mm, I don't see it happening. No, I don't see it happening. So this is the fun part of the year. If we get ready to go into the playoffs, this is the fun part of the year. This is where we can see who's really who. No, the last one I was saying, the cream rises to the top. Statements have to be made, and we're gonna see who's who. And speaking of statements being made, man, did the Baltimore Ravens make one against the Miami Dolphins? That was a beatdown. That was a beatdown. Now, one thing, as we switch over to the AFC, one thing that really stuck out with that game is Baltimore's physicality. Man, that team is physical, and it's Baltimore, so we're used to we remember the Ray Lewis days. We know how physical they are, but it's just amazing that years later they still are a team. They're still a team that just pushes their opponents around. And we saw that, of course, with the 49ers. You saw that again with the Dolphins. How impressive is it to beat the 49ers the way you beat them and then come back and beat the Dolphins even worse? And I'm not saying that those two teams are on the same caliber or on the same scale. I don't think that the Dolphins are as good of a team as the 49ers, but I still do think the Dolphins are a top 7 team in the NFL. No, so to be able to beat two teams that way, man, that's pretty impressive. And they're locked in. You heard Lamar say, "No, we're locked in." He said, "I'm locked in," and it showed. Because the first couple of drives, you saw, okay, this could be a shootout. But once Baltimore got their timing down, that's it. No, it was a wrap from there, and it just snowballed and continued to snowball to the fact that the game was out of use. When you're in those type games and you see things start to go a certain way, the only thing that is needed to just make it out of reach is a turnover. They got that turnover right before halftime, right there at the 2 minute warning. And what they got that turnover, I think after the after halftime they came out second half, I think that game was pretty much over. No, in my opinion. But here's some statements. Let's just talk about that for a little while. The Miami Dolphins. I'm a Dolphin fan. And I'll turn my fandom on just a little here. I've been a Dolphin fan for as long as I can remember. You talk about the Dan Marino days being, raised back at home, going to Bel Air Elementary, getting up, singing the Dolphin song whenever they win a game, things like that. I remember that. That really made me a Dolphin fan. And I can say over the last 20, 25 years, they have not been relevant consistently. Maybe some stories. I mean, you remember the bully gate story that came out that made them a national relevance. The Brian Flores things kind of made them relevant, nationally. But other than that, we had the ones that years. We had the Jimmy Johnson years. They were good teams, but they weren't ever really national teams where people talked about them. Things of that nature. We knew that we were either going to be 10-6, 11-5, somewhere around there, and we probably get beat in maybe the first, second round of the playoffs because as you get into the playoffs, the teams get better and you get what you get. So I remember going through 10 to 15 years of that. And then they got bad. And then we went through the Joe Philbin and the Adam Gase and the Sperano years. I mean, they were okay. They were up and down years. You had the Flores years where things start to turn around, just the turmoil. And now we have the Mike McDaniel years. And now we're back to a level of relevance. But the difference is it's national relevance. And I think that is because of the Tyreek Hill and the Tuas and the podcasts that are coming on. And now you see your Colin Cowherds and your Shannon Sharps, your Stephen A. They're talking about my team. They're talking about the team that I root for. And man, it sucks when we go out there and we get beat 56-19 or whatever the score was. And now do I not only have to hear it from my brothers, no, who are Buffalo Bills fan because our house was kind of split. You're hearing it from the TV as well. And my response to that is they're right. I don't know if the Dolphins can win a tough game, especially on the road. It's funny that I'm saying that because I still think they're a top 17. Now, I still can't name 17s that are convincingly better than them. You got the 49ers, you got the Ravens, and then who? I mean, we can argue the Cowboys, we can argue the Lions, we can argue. I mean, the Eagles. I mean, I don't know. I don't look at those teams and say they're so much better. So I still think they are a top 17, but I really don't think that they can win a tough game. And here's why: their defense does not seem to be able to adjust to things. And I don't know if this is Vic Fangio, no, the scheme that he's running, but they don't seem to be able to adjust to offensive schemes that are versatile. When you have a team that can run the ball as well as pass the ball, we don't seem to be able to adjust to that versatility. And I guess most defense won't be able to adjust to that versatility, no, simply because that's what makes an offense good. But when they don't know, like I think the Dolphins defense flourishes when they're up and they know what the team is trying to do to them, if that makes sense. Now we know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get points. Therefore, we understand that the running game is not going to be as vital. You're going to have to put the ball in the air because you're going to have to compete with our offense. But if they're in a situation where the other team is up and our offense isn't doing anything and they have the option to run the ball, to pass the ball, it doesn't seem like we make those adjustments well. It doesn't seem like we're able to contend with that. And that's what I saw with this last game. It looked like they were trying to keep Lamar in a box. Like, okay, we're not going to really go for sacks because if he gets out of the pocket while we're rushing here, we know we can't do anything about him. So we're going to try to keep him in a box and we're going to see if he can beat us with his arm. 19 for 22, what, 370 or something like that with 5 touchdowns? That's kind of what happened. And he didn't scramble a lot, you know, but he didn't complete a lot of passes either. Only 19 passes. So it seemed like they were just off on every level. And I'm saying that they didn't adjust well to the versatility because even when they wanted to run the ball, they were able to do so. No, so it wasn't like we were stopping anything. We couldn't stop the run. We couldn't stop Lamar from doing what he was doing. Yet he was not killing you with his legs. So how do you beat that? I mean, there was really nothing that the Dolphins were able to do on defense, to stop anything that they were trying. Whenever they got the ball, it was almost as if they were guaranteeing points. And then you look at the offensive side. Now, what that does is that means that your offense has to try to match them. And because we are, and because the Dolphins are, and I'm saying we, no, I'm not on the team, but because the Dolphins are a timing offense, is 1, 2, 3 step. If that's not there, we're going to our second option. And if that second option is not there, then it's probably a sack or a throwaway. No, and because once you get that timing down, then what do you got? No, and you saw the Dolphins trying to match them. The Dolphins got the ball first. They went down, they scored a touchdown, great drive. Baltimore got it, no, went down, scored a touchdown. Same thing. Dolphins got it. They went down. Should have scored a second touchdown. Of course, Tyreek had that drop. Happens. I get it. You kick the field goal. And then, of course, now, Baltimore gets down. They score another touchdown. Okay. Now it's 14-10. Dolphins get down once again. They don't make and execute all the plays. They got to settle for another field goal. So now it's 13-14. Guess what? Baltimore gets it, drives down, and we got another touchdown. So now it's 21-13. So now it's like, okay, we're gonna have to keep up with them because now they have the advantage. Now is the time where you cannot afford a turnover. Dolphins get the ball again. Boom, there's the turnover. That's the turnover. Baltimore gets it. No, they scored a touchdown again, of course. It's 28-13 going into halftime. They get the ball back. And of course, at that point in time, that game is already somewhat out of reach. And I'm saying somewhat because we know what happened last year. They come out of halftime. They take the kickoff back to like the 15-yard line. They scored the next touchdown. It's 35-13. And there's your game. There's your game. No, honestly speaking. No, I would say that everything else, even the Dolphins' last touchdown, was kind of cupcake. No, everything that Baltimore did after that was kind of on cruise control. But there's your game, and these are the teams you're gonna have to go in the playoffs. No, that you're gonna have to go up against in the playoffs. So if this is how you show up, especially on the road, then it's gonna be early exit, and we're back to where we started from. We went from being horrible back to where we were 10 to 15 years ago, which is that same mediocre team that's somewhere in the middle, where we'll be happy, excited, we have expectations, and then disappointed. And I don't want to go back there, to be honest, as a fan. No, I would love for my team to be talked about like they talked about the Ravens, like they talk about the Bills. Even though the Bills are have lost 6 games, people still look at that team and say that's a good team. So I would love to be talked about, even though the Chiefs, even though they're not playing well, people say that's still a good team. I would love to be talked about like them. I am willing to give it time, see what happens, see how it works. No, but it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out. They go up against Buffalo for the division. Not only is it for the division, Buffalo could be playing for the playoffs. It is possible that this game between Miami, which I think will be flexed to the Sunday night game, it is possible that this game can go for Buffalo. Either we win the division or we are out and we're not in the playoffs. It's possible. I don't really know all the dynamics of that, but it is possible that that can be the case. So this is going to be a very tough game. I'm not super confident about it because I know Mostert, Waddle, more than likely they're going to be out. I think Buffalo is playing better. I'm not going to make it seem like Buffalo's playing so great right now. I just saw Buffalo struggle with the Chargers. I just saw Buffalo struggle with the Patriots. So I'm not going to make it seem like they're playing at this super high level. But I do think that they have Josh Allen. And I think they're playing just a little bit better than the Dolphins. And man, how important was that Tennessee Monday night game? No, right now. To think about if they win that game, they're already number 2 seed. The division is already wrapped up. That was an important game. So if you don't win this game, Dolphins, no, that Tennessee game, no, it really did a number on you all. So we're gonna see. This makes it exciting. This is what we love about sports. So it makes it exciting to see this happen. So we'll be ready. I may wear this same sweater, so we'll be ready. We'll be rooting, and we'll see what happens. No, it's either gonna be 2 seed, and we'll probably be playing the 7 seed, or it's gonna be 6 seed, and we're on the road to Kansas City, which I'm sure Tyreek Hill would not mind. I'm sure he'd love to go back to KC and play against those guys. So I don't want to, but I'm sure he'd love to. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. AFC is pretty much rounded itself out. We still have the AFC South that needs to be um, won by somebody. You have the Colts, you have the Texans, you have the Jags, and I'm gonna be honest. I don't know who's gonna win that division. I mean, I said before that I think I've gone back and forth with the Colts as well as the Texans. And I think if CJ Stroud is healthy, it's possible that they can win that division. I think they'll win their game. I can't imagine Jacksonville losing to Tennessee, and it's nothing against Tennessee, but I can't imagine them losing to Tennessee. So I mean, we'll see. So they're still trying to lock up a position. It's possible that 2 of those teams could get into the playoffs, and then of course you have No, Pittsburgh, they're still hanging around. Even with everything that's going on, Pittsburgh is still there. People question Mike Tomlin. I don't see how. No, he's still there with an opportunity to play in the playoffs. Now, I don't think they're going to beat anybody in the playoffs, but just the whole notion that they are there and they can possibly be in the playoffs, it's just fascinating. It's possible that the AFC North can have Baltimore, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh in the playoffs. I mean, that's a pretty good division. So it's possible that that can happen. So we'll see. We'll see as these last games play out. This is a very exciting time as we get ready to go into the playoffs, and people just can start to define themselves and show their toughness and show the teams that they really are. So great games. We'll be watching. We'll see what happens. And of course, every game is Sunday, of course, because they have to make sure everyone has the same amount of time for next week or the following week to play those playoff games. And then, of course, there will not be a Monday night NFL game, but there will be a Monday night national championship game. And we got ourselves a good game. I think we have ourselves a really good game for college football national championships. We got Michigan and Washington. And those of you that's watched college football for a while probably remember those Rose Bowl matchups between the Wolverines and the Huskies. Great games. I think Washington won on the majority of them. I remember those growing up, but Washington won a lot of those games, but they were always really good games, and that's who we have in our national championship game. Great semifinal game. Both those games were phenomenal. The first game, Alabama, Michigan. The one thing that I will say is when you watch that game and you watch how it played out, I see why the committee put Alabama in instead of Florida State. Okay, because that was a very entertaining game. So it was very entertaining, even though there weren't a bunch of points scored and you had these huge plays, or even though it wasn't that game was entertaining. And I don't know if Florida State gives you that same type of game. With that being said, I still think Florida State should have been there because I think they earned the right to be there. No, my only issue was if it's about entertainment, just say it's about entertainment. Don't try to give me this, oh, well, this or this, and throw me rules, this, that, whatever. No, you go out, you play the games, and normally the winners of those games go to the playoffs. That's just how it works. If it's say, no, we just want to put the most entertainment game on, the most entertaining game on, no, for revenue, things of that nature, just say that, and that kind of kills all of the conversation. That was my thing. No, that was the only thing that I wanted to, that I thought about that whole circumstance. But I do see why Alabama was in that game because they matched up with Michigan very well. I think you were looking at somewhat of the same team. The one thing that stuck out to me is I remember in 2021 when Alabama made it to the playoff. I mean, when Michigan made it to the playoff for the first time. In the first time, this was the first time that they were, on the level of no, just recognition. They weren't good. They beat Ohio State. They made it to the playoffs, one loss, and they go and they play Georgia. And from the snap, you knew that this SC team is bigger, they're stronger, and they are faster. You knew that from the first snap. They were playing against that Georgia team, with Walker, Dean, Jalen. I mean, you just knew from the jump this Georgia team is just bigger, stronger, and faster. I mean, they just are. No, and it showed itself right away. No, this game was a little bit different. Now, from the start of this game, you saw that Michigan said, "You're not bigger and stronger and faster than us like you were SEC. You're just not." The first series, 2 sacks in the first series. And when I say sacks, it's not like, okay, no cover sack. It was like, we're coming after you and we're going to push your offensive line back, dominating the front line. I mean, just The line of scrimmage, we're going to show you that we're big and we're strong as well. And you saw that throughout the entire first half. Now, as a matter of fact, I will even be willing to say that if Michigan does not have some of the miscues that they had a muff punt in the first half. They missed a lot of throws. I'm going to give Alabama credit for that. Because they did miss a lot of throws, passes through their hands, things like that. But it seemed like Michigan did a lot of shooting themselves in the foot, throughout that first half, where the game should have been a little bit more lopsided. Um, but Alabama did a good job capitalizing on that. Alabama did a great job making sure that Michigan didn't have big plays. They did a good job stuffing the run, things of that nature. And in the first half, we get into halftime, and I think it's a 13-10 score where Michigan is up. But it seemed like it should have been maybe 20-10, something like that. But I think the one thing that Michigan showed is that SEC, you're not the big bad bully anymore, at least not in this game. So that was one of the things they showed. Second half, and I was listening to someone talking. They were saying how Alabama dominated the third quarter, and I don't look at it as dominating. Neither of them did anything in the third quarter. Believe it or not, there was not a score in the third quarter from any team. No, from Alabama nor Michigan. Nobody scored in the third quarter. And that is a quarter that both these teams have really showed themselves to be dominant in. That third quarter, if you look at the numbers, both those teams are super dominant in the third quarter. Well, they ended that third quarter with 0-0. Now, I think Alabama did have more offensive yards, but it was a 0-0. And then, of course, the start of the fourth quarter, they go ahead and they do the touchdown, make it 17-13. And now the game is on. It becomes a close game, and you really see if Michigan has what it takes to get to that next level and just pull a victory, from the hands of like I say, the bully. And they were able to do that. JJ McCarthy was able to muster up a drive. The defense were able to make timely stops. It's interesting because there were times in that game where Alabama is up 17-13 and they have the ball. And there's been times where I've seen Alabama salt that game away, get a touchdown to make the game two possession, get a couple of field goals to make this game no more than one possession. When Alabama was up 17-13, what ended up happening was Michigan missed a field goal. Alabama got the ball back. No, I'm trying to recall this. I don't know if Michigan missed a field goal first, if Alabama fumbled first. But Alabama had the ball. Michigan gets it. They miss a field goal. Alabama gets the ball back, and Michigan is able to hold them to a field goal. I think that was the how that went, and that's something different from what I've seen from Michigan teams and from Alabama teams. You normally see Alabama salt that game away. You normally see Michigan find ways to lose that game. Honestly speaking, even as a fan, I've seen them lose games that way. No, so now they're only down by 7 because they botched the field goal as well, the extra point as well. So now they're only down by 7, and they still have an opportunity to win this game. They get the ball, 4 minutes and a couple of seconds to go. They drive it down the field. They score a touchdown. Defense comes out there with a minute or so left. They stop them. They force a punt. You think that we have an opportunity to run a couple of plays to put ourselves in a situation to win it in regulation, with a field goal. And Michigan once again muffs the punt. Very scary. He drops it at the 1. He drops it at like the 7. It rolls to the 1. He picks it up and boom, he gets hit right there. How heartbreaking would it have been if we would have lost that game, or if Michigan would have lost that game on a safety. That would have been heartbreaking. But they're able to get into overtime. And in overtime, you still saw that Michigan was confident. No, they go out, they get the ball first. Second play, Corum, 16, 17-yard run for a touchdown. You see the emotion. You see the pictures and the video of him screaming in the camera, things like that. Great moment. Um, Alabama gets the ball, of course, knowing that it needs a touchdown. Snap issues all game. Though comes back to bite them. Though they have a third and long. They get 13, 14 yards on that third and long. Get down to the 3 or 4 yard line. And then that fourth down, Of course, the snap comes back to bite them again. Michigan stops them, and now they're going to the national championship to play for a ring, play for Natty. And great game. Great game. I think that this is deserving. I'm not one, and even though I am a fan, of Michigan, I'm not one that looks at them. I hear people say, that, "Oh, they're cheaters," and I'm like, man, I wonder if they're serious about that because no, if you feel like they are cheaters, are you saying that they cheated the first 4 or 5 games of the season, or no, are we saying that they're still cheating now, or no, I don't understand what that comment means. Simply because of the fact that they got caught in a sign stealing scandal. I think that happened around game 4, 5, 6, whatever the case may be. No, and they got caught with that. And of course, there's a punishment. Punishment was served. But they still go and they still play Penn State. They still play Ohio State. They still play in the Big Ten championship. They still play in the in the playoffs. No, so are we saying that they're still cheating, or are we saying, hey, they stole signs against UNLV, in Bowling Green? Therefore, I mean, I don't understand the whole ordeal with that. I know my Paul Feinbaum came out and said, "Yeah, this is a legitimate championship. It is." So I know he was very big on, I'm not gonna crown them champs if they win, and it was very, cool to see him say, "No, I mean, this is a legitimate championship. They beat a legitimate team," and that is the part that is very interesting to me, because this was not one of them games where, like, even like last year, where they was like, well, if you all make it to the national championship, you beat TCU, and they weren't really that good. This was Alabama. This was no big bad wolf. No, this is a legitimate win for that program. And that's what made it very interesting. And I hate that some, I'm not gonna say all, but some like to knock that down by bringing up, okay, well, the sign stealing scandal, no, they cheated, so they have some type of advantage, and I think that takes away from the hard work that these kids put in, and it takes away from what they really accomplished over the weekend. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and the team that they will be going up against is the Washington Huskies, and once again, scary team. You watch them as they played against Texas. Uh, I'm gonna be honest. I hadn't watched Texas play a lot this year. I do have a neighbor whose son plays for Texas, on Justice Finkley. We stayed in the same neighborhood, so I know his mom and his dad. And it was a lot of fun watching him out there on the field. I'm like, wow, look at Justice out there doing this thing. Number one for Texas on defense. So y'all get an opportunity, check him out. No, very dynamic defensive lineman. And that is the strength of that Texas team, that defensive line. No, and Washington was able to neutralize that. Washington was able to move the ball whenever they need to. But man, Penix, he throws that ball down the field every chance he gets. I see why Dan Lebitard, I listen to Dan Lebitard every day. I see why he loves Michael Penix in that offense. What they do is any opportunity, he gives his guys an opportunity to catch the ball. No, I don't even think they have a down and out. No, a down and I don't even know if they have that in their playbook. They throw the ball down the field and they got the receivers to do it. Um, Very exciting offense. And their defense is not too shabby either. No, it's funny because they're always projected to lose. They were projected to lose against Auburn. I think they were projected to lose against Texas. And people feel like these other teams are going to come and just beat them up because they feel like, okay, well, this is just a finesse team. Now, I think people look at this team the way teams look at the Dolphins, the way NFL teams look at the Dolphins. Well, okay, this is just a flash team, but no, they seem to have some physicality there because they were able to gut that game out with Texas's defensive line, which we know is dominant. We saw what Texas defensive line did to Alabama. No, so it was a very good game, even though there were some circumstances at the end of that game that gave Texas a chance to win it, with injuries, things of that nature. And it even got to the point where Texas is at I'm gonna say somewhere within the 10-yard line, no, between 10 15-yard line for the win with 4 shots at a touchdown. And that defense held strong for Washington, and they were able to gut that game out. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Michigan's defense lines up or matches up with Washington's offense. I think that is going to be what we want to watch. It's going to be interesting to see how Michigan offense, how that run game, controls the ball and keeps that offense of Washington off the field. No, is that what they're going to try to do? No. Will Michigan put those DBs in one-on-one coverage? That's going to be interesting to see. No, so I think we got a great game coming up. We're starting the year off right, on the sports side. So some great stuff happening. This could possibly be one of the greatest sports weekend as a fan for me if everything checks out. I mean, can you imagine though me being a Dolphin and a Michigan fan where the Dolphins beat Buffalo, win the AFC East, and at the same time knock the Buffalo Bills out of the playoffs, and then on Monday the Michigan Wolverines win the national championship? Greatest sports weekend ever for me. That's what I'm rooting for. We'll see what happens though. Uh, but I'm excited. About 2024. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna sign off here. But I'm excited about 2024. Some great things coming forth in 2024. Those of you that's been listening know that my mother-in-law has been dealing with some health scares, but she is now home after 2 months, 59 days of being in ICU and acute care and rehab and things like that. Mama's finally home, so we're excited about that. We're gonna get to spend some time with her as she continues her recovery. My daughter is home from college. She's getting ready to go back. We got an opportunity to spend the new year with her and celebrate a birthday with her. The boys, of course, they're getting back ramped up because football is heavy on their mind. So although they're not playing, they're still in the recruiting process. So we're going to see what we can do to get training and get them good looks and maybe get them to a situation where they can go and flourish and be the athletes that they are. And I'm looking forward to 2024. I'm looking forward to spending time with my family, growing. This is going to be a different year. Things are going to be different, but I love life. I love family. And we're going to continue to do this as well. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sign off. Happy New Year. Now, I hope you all had an opportunity to spend time with your family. I hope you all really enjoyed the closing out of 2023 and that you're looking for bigger and better things in 2024. As we're asking God to just continue to look over us and continue to bless us all, and allow us to achieve every goal that we have as we go into this new year. So, love you all. No, we'll see you all again. Talk to you all in the next week. Take care and see you later.